Hello and welcome to this lab demonstration on installing VMware tools. After completing this lab demo, you will be able to install VMware tools on a guest virtual machine using the VMware host client. In this lab, we will install VMware tools on a Windows 10 virtual machine. The overall procedure, however, is the same on other guest operating systems. The VMware tools software is mounted as a DVD on the guest virtual machine and is installed on the guest operating system from that mounted DVD. Since we will use the VMware host client user interface to install VMware tools, you should be familiar with this graphical user interface. In this lab exercise, we will first power on a virtual machine that doesn't have VMware tools installed. We will open a console to the virtual machine and quickly verify that VMware tools are not running on the virtual machine. Then we will install VMware tools and verify that VMware tools are running on the virtual machine and explore some of the benefits. VMware tools can significantly improve the performance of the virtual machine itself, improve the user experience of the console connection to the virtual machine, and simplify managing the virtual machine. Therefore, it is important that you know how to install VMware tools on a virtual machine. It's time to finish the introduction and get started. I'm sure I provided you enough good reasons to watch the following video on installing VMware tools. Now let's get started. In the first task, we will power on a virtual machine, open a console to the virtual machine, and then identify some limitations that we face on virtual machines that do not have VMware tools installed and running on the guest operating system. We want to perform the configuration on a standalone ESXi host, SA ESXi01. So the first step is to connect to this host. Then we log in using the locally configured root account. Now we select virtual machines in the navigator pane. We click the VM that we want to boot up. This is Win10 Tools. And then we click Power On. We have a small console window here, which we can refresh. And once we see that the VM is powered up, we can now open a console. We click the console menu item. And in our case, we want to open a console connection in a new browser tab. The Windows guest operating system on this virtual machine is configured with auto login. So to verify which user we are logged in as, I open a command box and enter who am I. So we can see that our user is vClass administrator. Why is that important? Because when you install VMware tools, you have to have administrative privileges. Before we go to the next task of this lab, installing VMware tools, you might wonder if and how you can check whether VMware tools are installed and running on a virtual machine. Is this possible? Yes, it is. Let me show you. We need to go back to the VMware host client user interface. And up here, we can see VMware tools and it just says no, but we can get more details by opening VMware tools under general information. And down here we can see that VMware tools are not installed. Therefore, of course, there is no version and it's not running. Once we installed it, we will see a yes here. And when the VM is running and VMware tools are running, this item at the bottom, running, will also change to yes. And in addition, we will see what version is installed on the guest operating system. So what are the consequences or limitations when VMware tools are not running on a virtual machine? One of the issues is that we cannot shut down the guest operating system from the VMware host client. When I right-click the virtual machine, I can power the virtual machine off, I can suspend it, I can reset it. But when we look under the guest OS menu, then we see that all the items here are grayed out. I cannot shut down or restart the virtual machine from here. These options are not available because they depend on VMware tools being installed on the virtual machine. Another issue is limited user experience. For example, due to suboptimal mouse performance. Let's check this out. Let me go back to our console session and open an application. File Explorer, for example. Now watch the mouse pointer as I move around within the application. You can see that the movement on the screen is a bit choppy and the mouse pointer lags behind my actual position. Keep this in mind because we will repeat this activity again later after installing VMware tools. This brings us to the second task of this lab exercise, installing VMware tools and verifying their operation. First, we have to return to the VMware host client window. And in here, we right-click the virtual machine where we want to install VMware tools. And we do that by selecting Guest OS, Install VMware Tools. The VMware Tools ISO image is now mounted on the CD or DVD drive of the virtual machine, as we can see here in the right bottom corner of the screen. Now we click the Start icon and we enter D:\/ to start the VMware Tools installation. On the welcome screen, we click Next. And now we have to choose the setup type. There are 3 types. Typical means that only those program features are installed that are required by this VMware product, in our case ESXi version 7. If you want to run this virtual machine on multiple VMware products, for example older versions of ESXi, then you would select the Complete option. Or you choose Custom and then you simply select the program features manually that you want to install on this system. In our case, Typical is fine, so we simply click Next. And now we click Install to start the actual installation. The installation has finished and we have to confirm by clicking Finish. Now we are asked to restart the system and we could decide to do this now by clicking Yes or clicking No and then manually restarting later. In our case, we want to restart right away, so we click Yes. The guest operating system is now restarting. After the reboot is complete, we are automatically logged in, and we can now verify that VMware tools are installed on the virtual machine. We have that small VMware icon down here for VMware Tools. I double click the icon and it tells us that VMware Tools service is running, and it also shows the version that is installed. So we can close this window. And remember that we checked the mouse performance before we installed VMware Tools, and we used it in File Explorer by hovering over the icons and the directories. And you can see the difference now. The mouse is exactly where I move it. It's not lagging behind, it's not choppy. So VMware Tools definitely increased the user experience here by improving mouse performance. Before we installed VMware Tools, we only had access to the power menu items in the VMware host client. We were not able to use the guest OS shutdown and restart options. Let's check if this has changed. So let me go back to the VMware host client tab. By the way, when we look at VMware Tools under general information now, we can see that VMware Tools are installed and running. And we can also see the version of VMware Tools that is installed on the VM. When we right-click the virtual machine, you can see that we still have the power off function. But in addition, we have access to the guest OS menu now, where we can select the shutdown and the restart options. So we can shut down or restart the guest operating system from here. We don't have to use a console connection and shut down or restart the virtual machine from within Windows. In this task, we successfully installed VMware Tools and verified proper operation on a virtual machine. Congratulations, you have completed the Installing VMware Tools lab demonstration video. In this lab, we first powered on a virtual machine, opened a console to the virtual machine, and we explored the behavior when VMware Tools are not running on the virtual machine. Then we installed VMware Tools and identified improvements in the user experience. The mouse movements were fluent. And we got access to additional features in the VMware host client, so that we can now shut down and restart the virtual machine from the VMware host client user interface. VMware Tools can also improve the performance of the virtual machine itself. Therefore, it is strongly recommended that you always install VMware Tools on your virtual machines. Thank you for watching this lab demonstration video. I hope the knowledge acquired here will help you with your daily job assignments. And good luck as you continue your journey in VMware world.